Kiri concentrates on preparing the rakas, waiting for the brief window in which they will turn from their dull brown to a more appetizing deep red hue. Though she's been cooking them for a few years by now, it still doesn't work every time for her. That's why she is paying so much attention to those damn tubers right now, despite the fact that she can't even eat them, and they smell horrible. Ah well. As soon as they turn, she takes the pot off the cooker and sets it on the countertop to her right, while her lower paws are busy toning the slabs of nondescript meat she took out of the freezer earlier. It has an inviting whitish pink colouring, so she suspects some kind of poultry. Probably. Smells good. I like those rakas. Blech. She sticks her tongue out in disgust at the smell. But now that she doesn't have to pay so much attention to the food anymore, she can finally listen in on Kroganar and Fradrick conversing with each other. Bublaz is resting their head on Fradrick's lap, as he pets them absent-mindedly, purring loudly and singing a few glances at Kiri's cooking every now and then. She gives the young beast a knowing wink, and they start wagging their stubby little tail in response. Ridiculous, she sniggers, amused by the sheer bizarreness of the young beast's existence. Where are you from? Kroganar asked the furless guest, purposely talking slowly and more deliberately than usual, as he tries to make himself understood. Frederick pauses for a moment, guessing what the scaly giant just might want from him. I think I've got it. With an outstretched arm and an unsure expression, he holds out one of his graspers, high above his head, forming a rather mean-looking bludgeoning weapon with it. He then lowers his grasper to the table in front of him, as he traces a slight arc with it, finally impacting the table with an unexpectedly hard-sounding noise. Boom, he motions. He then gestures around him, pointing at the floor. And here I am. Well, the short version anyways. He grins, looking a bit tired overall. A slightly burned smell and some angry sizzling grabs her attention back from their interaction. Ah shit, she curses, as she quickly takes the well-done meat off the cooker, and grabs both the frying pan and the pot of rakas as she heads for the table. Alright, food's done, out of the way, she calls out as she turns around. She sets down both pots and then takes a seat between Kroganar and Frederick, who are sitting across from each other at the round table. Bublaz instantly gets up from their human warm pillow and eagerly leans closer to the pan, reminding her of a hungry pup that just got home from the creche and gets to eat his mother's cooking. Don't know what kind of meat it is, but she cheerily states with a shrug, as she reaches for a piece. Frederick smiles at that, and grabs a piece of meat for his fuzzy friend, who has already started salivating a bit. Smell that good? He jokingly asks them. Bublaz greedily snatches it out of his hand, burbling contentedly, after their first taste. Kroganar looks amused by the display, and grabs a raka from the pot by stabbing it with one of his claws, and starts to peel off the outer layer. His eyes widen in surprise as he takes a bite out of the first slice. I think I hit the right moment this time, so I hope they're how you like 'em, Kiri tells him, as she starts nibbling her piece of meat. You did. They taste excellent, he rumbles happily. Thanks, Kiri proudly grins, with a slight tilt of her head. Oh wow, what is this? She thinks out loud, savouring the taste. Thaurami, a low voice responds from the door. Kiri quickly looks over and spots Dushavi walking into the room, Kirsan entering shortly after. What? She asks the large reptilian. It's Thaurami, the mate, she clarifies, seeing that her first explanation did not really help. Oh, that explains a lot, Kiri muses, surprised. Isn't it, expensive? Dushavi finishes the sentence for her. Kiri nods with a mouth full of meat. The female reptilian sits down next to Frederick and grabs a raka fruit as well. Well, boss over here had me go and get groceries in the market this morning, and I spotted some poor sod selling this for less than half the normal price. She takes a large bite out of the raka, not bothering to peel it into slices. You know how I love myself as a good deal. Still more expensive than the other options would have been, Kirsan complains, sitting down next to Kiri. Shut it. Where's the reason in living if you don't indulge every once in a while, huh? Dushavi retorts. Plus, we got a guest. Perhaps you will limit things to indulging with your own money in the future then, he suggests. Bah, don't be such a crowd, miss. She waves him off. Kir-san lets out a deep sigh. Anyways, guys, this is Frederick, Curie tells the duo as she points to him. He doesn't speak uni, but so far we've been managing with just gesturing and stuff. He straightens up at hearing his name, and does that little wave of his grasper again. Hi, I'm Frederick, and that's Bubbles. He politely introduces himself and his companion, pointing at them with his thumb. Boblaz makes a brief bark purr, and then continues harassing Frederick with their snout to give them more meat, making Curie giggle at the absolutely casual and unapologetic cheekiness. Not a single hint of shame, that one. Dushavie appears a bit wary of the young blood beast, and slightly leans away from them, but Kir-san actually seems excited for once. Not that she would blame her, though. Curie wouldn't believe it herself if she was told the killing machine sitting across the table is actually a total sucker for colours and scritches. Hello, Frederick. My name is Kir-san. We welcome you to our home, he greets him, using the same universal greeting gesture Curie used earlier, and everyone joins in with differing amounts of effort. Kir-san, the guest asks him in return. Correct, Kir-san replies. Frederick looks at Curie again, and she gives him an encouraging thumbs up with a nod. The somewhat uncertain expression on his face gives way to a teeny tiny smile as he makes a sharp nod. Dushavie, nice to meet you, the female giant rumbles out. Dushavie? Not even that bad, she bellows, hitting his shoulder with a hearty smack and toothy grin. Kir-san briefly freezes in shock, but Curie notes that Frederick didn't really move that much from that lizard brain's uncalled for smack in his butt. Come, eat up. Wouldn't want poor Curie over here to have cooked for nothing, right? Dushavie invites their guest, grabbing a racker and plopping it into his hands. Oh, thanks, he replies, with a weird tone that is difficult for Curie to interpret. He inspects it for a moment before he starts carefully peeling it with his stubby little claws. Having seen Krogonar do this before, he takes a slice of peeled racker and carefully chews it. Within the span of a few moments, his expression changes many times, from a cautious frown to surprised stare, and finally into a happy smile. Kind of like beetroot. I like it. He gives Curie a thumbs up with red-stained graspers, and she is suddenly much prouder of her work. Perhaps rackers aren't that bad. She smiles back and takes a cheerful bite out of her piece of meat. Oh, Dushavie voices with a sultry undertone, and her trademark dirty grin. Something wrong? Krogonar asks her honestly. Nah, forget about it, she reassures him. Alright. He happily drops the issue, happily slicing into his racker. However, that doesn't stop her from grinning slightly to herself, everyone else too distracted to notice right now. Kir-san, Krogonar suddenly chimes in, already finished with his second racker. Yes? He asks in between bites. Got a commo a few hours ago about a new catch out in the plains. Priven wants my help, and I think I'm going to help the boys out again with that one, he explains. Kir-san thinks on it for a moment, mentally going through his calendar. Sure, shouldn't be a problem. I don't have anything big planned in the near future. Thanks for the heads up. Krogonar simply nods with a grunt, chewing. Kir-san then leans over to Dushavie, whispering, And why in the void did you just hit our injured guest like that? The female Rakir stops chewing and freezes in place, almost dropping her racker out of her claws as she stares ahead with wide eyes. Oh. She sheepishly grins at him and scratches the tip of her snout. Right, might have possibly forgotten about that one. Kir-san pricks up his ears in annoyance. Are you serious? Hey, it's not my fault he's injured. I just forgot about it. You can't just... Wait. Curie suddenly interrupts them, leaning over the table. What is it? Kir-san asks her, somehow managing to keep a friendly tone, though he quickly notices that Curie was not talking to him, but Frederick, who is currently taking a bite out of a slice of falrumi meat. Meat? Chewing it. And now he's swallowed it. Shit, Kir-san curses. Is something wrong? Frederick asks the group, feeling a bit put on the spot, the way everyone is suddenly looking at him right now. Curie points at the piece of meat and then at Boblaz, giving a thumbs up. Then she points at him and gives him a thumbs down, her ears dripping with worry. That is meat. Meat. Meat bad, she explains, pointing at Boblaz and her own fangs again. Squinting, he tilts his head in confusion and thinks for a moment. I don't I don't get it, he apologizes, shaking his head in defeat. She then points at her own piece of meat, then her own fangs, and finally at him, shaking her head. Oh, I get it. He points at the piece of meat in question, running his other grasper across his throat in a very negative-looking gesture. She nods and points at Boblas again. So, Bobbly can eat it, he begins, earning a nod from Carrie. And you can, he continues, this time pointing at her. She nods again. So why can't I eat it? He asks her, genuinely confused. It's not poisonous, right? He motions. What? Doesn't he know that he can't? She suddenly stops and smacks her head in realization. Of course, she exclaims. She should have known earlier. Of course he could eat the meat. He has fangs after all, you dum-dum. Stupid, she cusses herself out. Guys, I think he can eat meat and fruit. She shares her thoughts. Everyone looks at her the way they looked at poor Frederick before, disbelieving. What do you mean he can eat both? Dushavy asks her. Please elaborate, Grognard adds. Well, look at his fangs, she begins. They all look back at him, and he gives them a nervous smile, unintentionally showing everyone what she just meant. See? Fangs, she states, still a bit uncertain but trying to hide it. No way, Gizam mutters. Dushavy looks over at the Melchiroan. Kisan, you're actually considering it? She asks him with moderate bewilderment. He hesitates for a moment, flicking his outermost ear in his nervous tick. Well, it is theoretically possible after all, he muses. And it is not like he is completely normal in all the other aspects. Just his skeleton alone is different, for a lack of better words. Grognard slowly leans back again and Dushavy stares at the table. Incredible. Yeah, no kidding. Rah! Bubbles' sudden exclamation pulls everyone out of their thoughts a little, looking at their red form instead. Their front paws are currently on Frederick's chest, and they are doing their best to reach up and steal the remaining piece of meat he is holding high above his head, all while laying on his back. Get off me, you damn fuzzy glutton, he laughs. But Bubbles is relentless, and they keep licking his face, trying to overcome his defense. There, stop, you menace. It's mine. A few moments and a brief scuffle later, Bubbles purrs happily as they sit on Frederick's belly, who tries to get back up again, and wipes his face in defeat. You might have won this time, he frontally swears to the young blood beast, giving him puppy eyes again.